Therefore it says, wake up, sleeper. Get up from the dead. Christ will shine on you. So be careful to live your life wisely, not foolishly. Take advantage of every opportunity because these are evil times. Because of this, don't be ignorant, but understand the Lord's will. Saints of God, my eyes have seen the glory and the coming of the Lord. He's trampling out the vintage with the grapes of wrath of scorn. He hath loosed the faithful lightning of his terrible swift sword. His truth is marching on. I see him in the watchfires of 100 circling camps. They have builded him an altar in the evening dew and damps. I can read his righteous sentence by the dim and flaring lamp. His day is marching on. Hello, everybody. My name is Brandon A.J. Davis, founder of Content Writing Service and Conversation for Faith Leaders. And today, I have with me some of my amazing friends once more and again, as we have this little ditty of a conversation. We're going to title this Conversation in the Pews. I have with me Dr. Shana Eutsay and the amazing founder of Tipsy, Leonitha Francis. So, ladies, y'all come on in the room. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing?
Hello.
Hello. Listen, we're back. We're at it again. We're going to have this conversation. 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 Listen, we're going to behave today. We're going to talk about life, dating, and culture. And we're not going to belabor the moment. We're going to jump right on in there. Ladies, help me understand what's this thing about Tabitha Brown retiring her husband. And let me just say for the record, I ain't with that. If that's what you and your husband want to do, if that's what you guys, plan for your lives, well, then it need to be private, because we got enough lazy, scheming, conniving men in the world looking for ways to skirt around doing what you're supposed to do. And it's embarrassing because it's in the church. You got men scheming and conniving and looking for ways around doing what you're supposed to. She's already drinking the coconut, children. I mean, I haven't even said nothing.
It's gonna be nothing already.
The pineapple juice, really, Francis? Really? Already?
I had a little tickle in my throat. It was a little tickle back here. It was a little tickle. So, that's I want to start there. Tabitha Brown retires her husband. What does that say? What does that say about men? What does that say about the culture? What does that say about, ethics? Talk to me, Dr. Eutsay.
I am on the side of whatever works for your relationship, it should work for your relationship. I'm not an advocate of public display so much. I really enjoy the benefits of privacy. I do understand that Tabitha Brown is a social media personality, and she's definitely used her personal narrative of health and wellness. And so she's becoming a household name. And when you're starting to grow and your platform and reach, you have to start doing things a little bit more carefully and start thinking about implications. So it may be wonderful for her and her husband, which I do understand why it was done based upon what worked for them, as she explained. However, knowing that that household is functioning that way, that does not mean that that becomes the status quo for all other households or for all other family constructs. And so sometimes we have to be very cognizant of the implications of what we say and the meaning, because right now in the relationship and dating area in our community, it is very challenging. It is being very targeted, and we have to be very cognizant that we're not sending messages that creates confusion.
Agreed. Francis?
Y'all don't crucify me, but I feel otherwise. I agree with her doing that, right? Because I don't follow her on social media, but I do follow the story of them. I love the show Black Love that comes on OWN Network, and they've been featured on this season. And so they tell the story of how he sacrificed for her. They left North Carolina, moved out to LA because she wanted to become an actress. And he took this job as a LA police officer, which is one of the toughest police departments to be a part of. He took this job just to have sustainability in the home so that she could pursue her goals. And so the goal was always that she was going to be this actress that would be able to sustain them and allow him the freedom to do what it is that he's passionate about, which is youth work with young men. And so her sharing this, I think it's a part of transparency of their story. I agree with Dr. Eutsay that, you know, we have to be mindful that this isn't for everybody's family construct. However, I think in full transparency for her brand and for the story that they shared of their relationship, it makes sense that she shared, hey, we finally reached our goal and it's attainable for you. I don't think she was saying like, ladies, y'all join the club, y'all do this for y'all, man. I don't think she was saying, men, you got to get women to do this too. I think she just wanted to share the testimony more so of like, hey, we did it. And it worked. You know, I finally got to the place where he sacrificed for me, because she says like, it really hurt her. She couldn't stand the fact that every day her husband was sacrificing his life. And I don't know what that feels like. I have family members who are retired from the force, and just that constant notion of like knowing that somebody's putting their life in danger every day, somebody that you love, it is kind of reassuring to know that you have an alternative for them to say like, you don't have to put that on anymore.
I'm with you. I don't want to sound like, you know, I'm beating somebody up. I think she did an amazing thing honoring her husband. I think we get caught up in sharing too much of our private lives with the public, because this is just my old school traditional narrative is that men have responsibility to care for the provide for his family, supporting dreams, helping to make dreams come into fruition. Those are the things that partners do for each other because you're in this committed relationship together. But there's a narrative that's out there that, you know, women are retiring husbands, and we see a couple of posts of other folks saying, hey, you know, I had, you know, no education, no college education, you know, GED. I did X, Y, and Z, became famous for it, and I retired my husband. That's not everybody's. That should be the narrative, is what I'm saying. That should not be the narrative.
I don't think it should be the norm, but for some people it is their narrative. I just, like, to Dr. Eutsay's point, I wouldn't publicize it. But if I was blessed to be able to do that, like, that's just between me and him, you know, especially if my husband, say, took a job that neither of us really cared for him having. He hated going. I hated the fact that he was going. And, you know, Tipsy gets to a place where I could be like, babe, you don't have to work, or you can work for the family company. You can do that. Like, I would totally do that. I don't think it takes away from me submitting to him as a man, especially if it's the characteristics of manhood are there for me to submit to. I don't think it takes away from that aspect of it. I just would babe, if you don't have to go punch your clock, then don't punch nobody else's clock.
And I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. You guys hear me? Is it choppy still?
It is.
Okay, I may have to switch over. I know I'm in the country. This happens from time to time. But who's the take from here? Let me switch over.
I didn't quite hear, but I do have something to add. Again, the relationship factor does require a level of privacy. And sometimes relationships that are overly sharing or too public, it engages too many eyes and ears. And so the topic of why something was done kind of gets misconstrued. So just for the sake of protecting your union, your covenant, because again, marriage is a spiritual act. I know, many may be tuning in that may not identify with a spiritual identity or anything like that. But for this platform, we're folks here who come from traditional church cultural backgrounds. And, we have an understanding that marriage is a religious institution, and it is done specifically to show a covenant that is made between man and woman in the original intent of humanity, that there's a need to make sure that there's a covering there and a protection there. And so sometimes sharing information that works for your household, for your bedroom, you may not want to share those details all the time, because then it gives idea or possibly a stumbling block for someone else in their pursuit or in their endeavors to have a happy, holistic relationship. So I don't have any issues against what Miss Tabitha Brown is doing with her family. And again, I think that it's wonderful, as Francis was sharing, that she shared it. And being open like that, we have to be very mindful of how we're sharing information and its implications, because everybody is not at the level of thinking that you're on. Everyone is not married. Everyone is not in a position of how to go about retiring a loved one or anything like. No, everyone is not at that thinking or level capacity. So you don't want to overshare or put the wrong thing out there. Sometimes it may not be received or perceived correctly. But again, this all goes down to the framework of what works for you, works for you. That doesn't mean it is a paintbrush for everybody to do, or to, it promotes thinking, critical thinking. I'm sure a lot of folks who are married who have loved ones who are doing jobs that they hate, or maybe someone's making more money than the other. All right. Maybe they're now starting to have that dialogue. So it could be a good thing, but sometimes it may not. So my perspective on it was just that, just be very aware of what you're putting out there, because what works for your bedroom and for your household may not be the status quo or the standard that helps another relationship.
Agreed. Is my sound any better?
Yes. You're coming in clear.
Okay. All right. I was a little nervous there. Thank you, Jesus. I was worried about that just a little bit. The image will clean up in a second, but as long as you all can hear me. So Francis, you have a business, you have a company, and you get married. And what does it look like if your husband comes to you and say, "Hey, Tabitha Brown retired her husband. What's up with me?"
What's up with you? I posted something on my Insta story today. It said, we're holding boyfriend applications effective tomorrow, where, all that's required is a pay stub and wearing sweatpants, So
I'm the chairman of that committee.
And all that implies is that a status got to be there, but it got to make dollars and cents. I recently saw a video on Facebook, on Instagram. Somebody had posted it on social media somewhere, and it was saying marrying beyond the age of 40, it has to make dollars and cents at this point. Like aside from aesthetics, it has to make financial sense after a certain point in life. And so with me being an entrepreneur, with me being a go-getter, with me having, you know, my hands in several different things, several different plates moving at one time, I don't need that to be the first thing that you come to me with. You know what I'm saying? I need you to be someone who's holding your own, you got your own, but together we can make it better, right? I'm a movement by myself, but I'm a force when we're together. And so if you can't come alongside me and be a force, but you're looking to just be like, you know, a sidecar or to be a mooch or a leech, I can't deal with that. And, you know, I had a situation where I was dating this guy like a month or so ago, and he constantly, I asked him, I was like, why are you constantly trying to see how deep my pockets are? You know, it was always like, hey, you should buy me this. But it was always high-end things. And I like high-end for me. I don't mind that for me. Honestly, if I'm in a committed relationship, emphasis on the committed being exclusive, monogamous. If I'm in a committed relationship, I don't mind spoiling the man that I'm with. Absolutely don't mind it. But what I'm not going to do is in the dating process where we're gathering information, seeing if we like each other, seeing if I want to be bothered with you, seeing if you can last past 7 days with me, because to be quite honest, it wears off after 4 days. I'm not interested in trying to spoil you with high-end goods and gifts and things, because I'm not that female in return. You know what I'm saying? Like when I meet a man, I'm not looking for you to buy me a Birkin. I'm not looking for you to, you know, take me on shopping sprees and things like that, because I feel like there's something. If you spend $20,000 on a bag for me, I want to punch you in your face, because you can invest that in my business. It's just
exactly.
It is just a misappropriation of funds. At that point, it is a gross misappropriation of funds. If you spend $20,000 on something for me to put, I don't know, my little $10,000 in, rather than just collectively putting it together, and let's flip this and make this $20,000 $2 million. I digress.
Agreed. But you know what? That's the reason why I mentioned it that way.
The coconut is out. The coconut
ain't nothing left in that coconut.
I just opened it.
In that coconut. You done drink it all. Ain't nothing in that
coconut in the blue glass.
I just opened it.
So here's the thing. That's the reason why I wanted to shape the narrative of this particular conversation that way, because that's I'm not ignorant to culture and society. I know there are lazy men out there, and that is the conversation. You already got men who think it's okay to ask a woman to pay for them. You got men out there who think it's okay for a woman to shower them. Like, you know, they're changing the narrative to say that, you know, hey, you ought to do something for me. You know, men been doing this for women. Where's the sacrifice? Women proposing to men. Men getting engagement rings.
Because like the gentleman, we were out, and I know he said it in jest, but the truth is often told in jest for me. And so it was a red flag. He says, he leans over and he shows me a Tom Ford fragrance, and he says, will you get this for me for Father's Day? And I say to him, if we had children together, perhaps it might be a thought. However, Father's Day, my belief, is for people who call you daddy. I don't call you daddy. I don't think it's on me to get.
And that ain't your girlfriend or your that ain't your boo calling you daddy. That's a different kind of daddy.
It means like
bruh.
You are responsible for 50% of their chromosomal makeup. Those people. If you're not responsible for my chromosomal makeup, I don't feel like I should be getting you a gift for Father's Day, and vice versa. I don't feel like you owe me anything for Mother's Day. It's a nice acknowledgement, but for him to ask me that on date one, although it was just, I don't appreciate it. And I told him that, and I was just like, please stop trying to see how deep my pockets are.
I think if I can share the reason possibly why these kind of lines are getting crossed is because of what has been feeding us and what we've been ascribing and subscribing to. It's normal in entertainment to have that kind of suggestion. it's normal in our daily TV watching, music listening to, just the culture has ingrained in our everyday habits that it's normal for someone to say these kinds of things. I don't ever recall hearing that to be normalcy when I was growing up, but times change. But in that process, you got to be able to say, you know, what is fact and what is fiction? You know, what is really happening here? What is it that you're really looking for? And when you're connecting and meeting people, you know, you have to put things out there in the whole context. Like, for example, high value, right? Talking about high value men, high value women. High value is not contingent upon tangible things. It is a byproduct. The value is actually indicative of what's in your internal makeup that comes out in your external stature. The way that you not only adorn yourself, women and men, but the thought of how you carry your thoughts out, the ability for you to engage, promote safety, creating peace. Value creates peace. People who have money, there's a level of peace that they have because those who do not have it is a constant grind, a constant work, and a constant unsettling that doesn't create peace. So money does give a level of peace. I know the Bible tells us that money answereth all things. When you're in a need of something as basic as I want to get up because I have to go do such and such. People who have money, they don't have to get up. Right? So there's a difference with peace levels. So when you're talking about value, is this person bringing peace to your life? Are you valuing them in a way where when you engage with them, you want to give them things? You want to do things organically, naturally. Value has also been shifted. We don't even look at value in this way anymore. Value has been broken down into something that is just irrelevant, irrational, unloving, lack of harmony, and creates so much fragment and dissonance. That's not value. But, you know, in our previous live that we've done, we talked about those things. So if you're a high valued woman or if you're a high valued man, are you bringing peace to the situation? Are you creating havoc and issues?
Listen, y'all put your Cash Apps and your PayPals and your Venmos and Zales because Eutsay is preaching.
This is very rich because we want to talk about high value as in labels on our back and what we're wearing and indulging in luxurious behavior, having facials and treating ourselves to things and normalizing luxury. I'm here for all of that, right? And when you normalize your luxury, normalize that lifestyle of gratuity as well. I need to advocate for those in the service industry who y'all come and get y'all facial, but y'all not tipping. Y'all not tipping y'all nail tech. Y'all not tipping y'all cosmetologist. We got to do better, all right? Even your makeup artist deserves a gratuity outside of whatever their normal rate is. So I just need to throw that in there. But because I tip very well. My people will tell you I tip very well. That is not an issue I have. I include that in my service cost. However, we got to get beyond the fact of what the materialization side of it looks like and say, does this person, as Dr. Eutsay said, do they bring me peace? Do I want to share with them? Do I want to unpack with them? Do I want to give them some more things? Do I want it to be mutual? And then am I giving to them from a genuine place and not just because they'll say, oh, my lady bought me this or my man bought me this, not for those bragging rights per se, but because this just makes them a better person. It increases their value. I've dated men who said, listen, I want to help get your credit score up, right? And, you know, for some people, that's a touchy thing, like, oh my God. But that's somebody who wants to improve your personal value because they say, hey, I see what you're worth. And I want you to be able, and I see what you're doing, not just what you're worth, but I see what you're doing. And in order to get from point A to B, or matter of fact, from B to C, let me show you some tricks of the trade that I've learned along the way. And so this person now becomes a bit of a mentor in certain aspects. I think that is another place that we need to start placing value on too, not just like, what can you, not just what can you buy me, but how can you help level me up too? Like not, and it doesn't have to be financial. It could be, you know what, read this book because it may change your life. It may change how you're thinking about things. Listen to this podcast. It may change your life. It may give you some insight into a different type of look. You're going in different circles. The people you're hanging around, nothing against them, but this over here is going to give you some content and quality that you can't pay for.
Yeah, the notion of what value is, that's where it has to start from. Because somebody may value the Birkin, and someone else may value buying a building instead of the Birkin, right? But those things come out in healthy conversations. When you're starting to, get into relationship or meet people, you meet people on first glance, you're like, wow, they are dope. I need to find out I just need details, okay? And when you start getting through that process, then you can mitigate possibly what they value. I could tell a lot by what somebody values through their language. The Bible says out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So I already know what's in your heart, and what's in your heart, that's where your treasure is. Because the Bible says where your treasure is, your heart may be there also. So when I start seeing how you value things, I know where your heart is, I know where your treasure is, and I know what your value system is. That's enough to make a decision if that person is for you or not. Superficial and surface things, people are jumping on tables, people are having surgery, people are moving and augmenting things. It doesn't move or restructure their heart. It doesn't help improve or enhance their mindset. And again, relationship and dating is spiritual, because we see so many people jumping in and out of relationships like they change their underwear. It's like every day is somebody new. Every 2 months is somebody new. Every 3 months is a new. Oh, I thought taking trips, staying videos together, FaceTime, and it's too much. And it's because the values are not settled. Relationships confirm settling, and not settling as in you're not being your authentic self. Settling as in I'm tired of jumping from man to man, woman to woman. I'm tired on going on dates, figuring this out. I'm tired of searching a new place to find. That gets tiring because you're investing time, money, energy, effort. And in us and our faith constructs, we have a high standard that, guess what? You're supposed to have an idea at least a month in. You should know the values. You start seeing the directional path of the value. You should start seeing the directional path of the mindset, because that good foot is being pushed out there that first couple of months. But you got to wait a little while for that left leg to come out, right? When that left hand and that left foot come out, that's how they respond to challenges. That's how they respond to disagreements. That's how they work under pressure. That's how they answer things when they don't have an answer. Are they humble? Do they have the ability to be loving? And we say we love shoes, we love bags, we love that outfit, we love that suit. But love is a language. Is the person speaking lovingly to you? You already know if you're in an abusive relationship on the first date. You already know homeboy's abusive.
Absolutely.
You already know he's a narcissistic. You already know if he's controlling. Sis, my brother, you already know if she's a gold digger. We know, we just ignore because we're looking at the superficial value. And that's another thing maybe later on we'll touch on. It's just engaging from a genuine, we too old to be doing this back. We too old for this.
And not just looking from a superficial value. I think one of the biggest issues is that people have gotten to the place where they will take anything to avoid the uncomfortable silence and loneliness that exists in life. And I can speak to that in that I know how it feels to desire to be in a relationship, to want to have somebody and not be able to find it. The uncomfortable weight of, being alone all the time. One of the things I can speak to is that Sundays, as much as I love Sundays was a very depressing and difficult day for me. On a spiritual high, because I got a chance to preach, be amongst my congregation, share in worship. But when the service was over, I had to come home to an empty house, and that was uncomfortable for me. And so I had to get to a place where I was okay being alone with Brandon. It's just me. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm a good guy. I got my life together. So what? I'm not the, the picturesque image of what, sexy is. You ain't seen nobody my size look this good in Burberry. That's just the gospel. So, we're accepting things. I mean, I'm just saying, but but we're out here accepting stuff because we're trying to avoid, an uncomfortable reality. Let me just hop on my platform real quick. By no stretch of the imagination are we seeing scripture unfold itself in that Jeff Bezos and the other guy racing to the moon. They're looking for another place to go and hide to escape the judgment of God. You can't hide from stuff. You can't do it. I don't care how much money you got. I don't care how much personality you got. Y'all can get your booties fixed. You can get your breast augmented. Woo. You can get your thighs sculpted. Woo. Brothers, you can go and have, 6-pack implants. You can do all this stuff. But let me tell you, it's not going to change the truth that God wants to come out of your life. You're going to have to face it. You're going to have to look at it. You're going to have to deal with it. And it's until you deal with it, you're going to continue to bump into the same ish that you've been bumping into. You're going to continue to attract the same deadbeats, the same users, the same liars, the same players until you get to a place where you address you. And I'm a witness. Once you fix you, what you've been looking for shows up. It comes.
Come on.
It just does.
You find yourself.
It just does.
You got yourself
without
together,
you even.
it comes.
And not only do you find yourself, Eutsay, you find your righteous mind.
David,
you are able to see the things click and connect that wasn't clicking and connecting before. When you fix you get synergy. Somebody say synergy.
I'm gonna throw something. I'm about to throw something because this is good. This is
listen
rich.
here. Listen, we're gonna shift a minute here. Let me air. I have a sponsor, so let me air my sponsor. I'm waiting on my second sponsor, Tipsy Ice Cream. Because we got this partnership that she has not collected this money for.
We growing. We is a one-man operation right now. Well, 2-man. I'm sorry, we had growth, so let's celebrate our growth. But we are a 2-man operation.
Well, listen, we thank God for the growth. I'm trying to feed somebody some of this good tipsy ice cream. 5 people. I'm giving 5 people some tipsy ice cream. I'm paying for it. Francis gonna deliver it.
So I actually got 5 extra here with me in New York. So I'm in New York currently right now. I have 5 extra with me. If you want to sponsor those, we can get rid of those while we're here.
Listen, y'all watching, share it with your friends. Eutsay, tell your bougie friends we got some bougie ice cream. Okay.
If you are in New York.
Listen, y'all don't know it. In New York, we're in New York. We're in New York.
In New York,
I don't know it though, but see, y'all see my friends. You see Eutsay Shirley Temple curls. Y'all see you see them them side bangs. Francis is rocking. These women got money. They got money.
Everything
we're gonna be right back. We're gonna be right back.
Has fun.
Praise him with a violin.
Welcome. I'm Alphonse Allen, the senior pastor of Allen Temple AME Church.
And I'm personal injury attorney Blake Maislin, partnering together to bring you the Allen Temple broadcast.
Every Sunday morning at 11:30 on Star 64. We're reaching the city one soul at a time.
And now we're inviting you to join us.
Every Sunday morning at 11:30 on Star 64.
Okay, we're back. Listen here, we're going to shift a little bit, but just in case you missed it, Francis is in New York. Francis, you in Brooklyn?
I'm in New York. I'm in the 5 boroughs. So if you are in New York and you would like to claim one of the 5 ice cream, 12-ounce ice cream pints that Dr. Davis is sponsoring, Dr. Davis and Conversation with Faith Leaders are sponsoring, please text 240-720-7433 to claim yours, and we will make sure we connect with you to get that to you by tomorrow.
Listen, so y'all get in touch with Francis. You want some of this good tipsy ice cream? Let's make it happen today. So Dr. Eutsay and I was talking via text, and she sent me this trash. Okay, I want you to see this trash she sent me. Get your coconuts and your waters ready. I got my Sobe because it's fitting to get hot. Listen, I'm blaming it. Eutsay was not in agreement with this, but Eutsay shared this trash, and she gonna say, Dr. Davis, what's your perspective? Well, listen to this garbage.
I am not opening your door. You're getting 4 letters, H-E-R-E. That means I'm here. That means come outside. And that means when we go, like whatever our plans are, we're going to go do what our plans were set to do. I'm not getting out of the car to open your door or to meet you at the door or to ring your doorbell when you could just walk downstairs. Honestly, I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but I personally believe, and this is just my personal perception of me and my friends and all the females that we have dealt with collectively, chivalry is almost dead. It's on its last leg. So maybe I might hold the door open for you, yeah, but I'm not getting out of my car to ring your doorbell to tell you to come downstairs to get back in the car. That actually doesn't even make sense.
Now, he sent that garbage to me too.
He said it doesn't make sense. To him, it doesn't make sense to be loving. It doesn't make sense for him to be nice. It doesn't make sense for him to go the extra mile for something that he wants. It doesn't make sense for him to create an environment that is safe. Chivalry asserts security, confidence, safety, and love. Chivalry is not just a performance. By doing certain acts or certain movements while in relationship with someone, it shows a level of conscientiousness. It shows that you're not selfish, you're considerate of the other person. It does communicate a level of high value tendencies. So when we start thinking about these buzzwords that we're hearing and we start attributing them to superficial things, when we learn and understand its definition and its original intent, we can then pull a lot of frameworks that can help solve a lot of problems. So if this gentleman actually takes a step back and think about what he is saying as it communicates. Yes, he may be pulling up in a nice vehicle, and I'm sure that's why he has that cockiness of confidence to speak like that, because he has things. He has superficial things. And so for the reason that he puts a value in these kinds of things, he doesn't see how it's implicating. This goes back to implications. What are you implying when you tell a young lady on a first date, I'm not coming to the door. What you're going to do, I'm going to text you I'm here and you're going to come outside. What if she would like for you to have eyes laid on you by family or somebody? You know, this is a first encounter of going out. There's so many things going on here. So when a gentleman says these kinds of things, what is that implying? What is that doing? So I was very disappointed because he's young. I was very disappointed because he does have a platform, but it also showed the culture in which we are in. Like, this is okay. he got a lot of kudos. And I think the video comments were pretty positive. A lot of people were supporting it.
If I could just jump in.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
Go ahead, Dr. Dave.
No. Go ahead, Francis.
I was stunned when I thought, he's a little boy. And he's a little boy who has no man in front of him to teach him otherwise. And I would even venture to say he's a boy who has seen women disrespected and not treated well, which is why he feels that this is okay. Granted, I come from a single parent household myself, but one thing my granddaddy and my uncles told me was that it was one time I had a date. I was like 19 years old and I was living with my uncle and aunt, and the gentleman texted, he was like, here. So I was like, well, I'm about to go outside. My uncle's like, no, you're not. You're gonna sit here, and he's gonna come upstairs and say hi to your people, and we need to know who you going out with. And I was like, y'all know him. No, he needs to come upstairs and greet us and tell us, who he's going out with. And it's not so much a grilling factor as much as it's a respect factor. And the sad part is, girls, because if we play that video a little further, there's a female who says, I agree with him. I think that's okay. And it's not okay. And it's because this next generation, there's been a major disconnect in chivalry where they are not getting the fact that this is not okay behavior. You can text me and say that you're here. Where should I park? Or what's your bell number? That's one thing. But I'm not going to come running downstairs because you said that, because what it is, it also it sets the tone and is grooming for other places where I should be complicit with your behavior as well. And I'm not going to be okay with this all the time, that you're just, pardon my French, half-assing it, right? Just because, all right, I look good, so I'm here. Like, what you going to do? I mean, you can come downstairs because it's too much work. Let me tell you something. If coming to my door to acknowledge my presence and to acknowledge the fact that you're excited that I allowed you to spend time with me is too much work for you, then me coming outside is too much work. Me getting dressed up is too much work. Me allowing you my time is too much work. And I don't think that we're going to work because we're not compatible and we're not on the same page about things.
Francis, tell him,
too much work.
Shake it up.
And that's the problem now, right?
Because
everything is too much work. But when we sit with ourselves, as Dr. Eutsay said earlier, and we identify our values and we identify what we're worth, nothing becomes too much work. See, there's high value, and then I have even higher standards. And y'all can use that as an Instagram caption if you want to, because I know I'm a high value person, which is why I have high standards. And it's why I'm okay with being single right now. I had someone tell me, they said, well, you've been single this long. How's monogamy working out? Everything you wanted, it's not working out for you right now. I said, but I also serve a God who knows the desires of my heart. And he says, if you walk after me, I will give you the desires of your heart if you delight yourself in me. So all I got to do is delight myself in God. And whether it comes at 35, 40, or 45, I know I'm going to get what I've been waiting on. And I'm not willing to settle for less than for the sake of saying I have somebody in the interim. That's not going to work for me, because it's going to be more frustration on the front end than it is. Listen, I believe that either you're going to pay on the front end or on the back end, but some way or another, you're going to pay. And you have to choose
always a price
where you want to pay. I don't mind sacrificing being alone right now. I don't mind sacrificing paying all my bills by myself right now. I can go to sleep with the assurance that I don't owe nobody nothing. Don't nobody got to come here on the first and the third Friday of the month to pay up so that they can pay my rent. I don't have to worry about that. I sleep good at night knowing that. I'd much rather stress over how I'm going to pay this bill rather than who I have to have sex with in order to pay this bill.
Because they
listen, I just want to add this real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. Who would say what they definitely what?
I was going to say, because they definitely sleeping for bags and pocketbooks and cars and shoes and men, status. That's the new transaction. Money is not the transaction. Your body is.
And if I'm gonna be a transactional person, it got to be equity at this point, right? At this stage in the game, it got to be equity. Do I have a building? Do you have like a 4-unit building for me if we're gonna do this? Because I gotta have some type of generational wealth that's providing here. Did I hear American Express card where I don't see the bill in my name that improves my credit? Did I hear that? Did I hear a car where I don't pay the note, but it's in my name? Because I don't do this whole car in your name and you just let me drive it. I don't do that. And so if I'm gonna be a hoe,
Well, listen,
I'm gonna
over
be
here in holiness, we saved and sanctified and Holy Ghost filled. Okay, listen, all I have to say is to the women and the men who think it's okay for that kind of disrespect, because there is a level of chivalry that exists, that exudes from a woman to a man. It's called respect. When a man shows up the respectful way and shows that his mother, father, grandmother, grandfather, somebody taught you how to be a man, a gentleman, to display chivalry, there is an act of chivalry. There's a response to chivalry that comes from the woman. But I think folks that do that, they participate in the foolishness that puts you in the position to where you got to deal with them late night phone calls. And that's all you get. You got to deal with those text messages with them 3-letter words, WYD. You know, you got to deal with folks texting you where you at, and Drake put a song out there. Drake put a song out there that I think is appropriate, you know, to help folk understand.
Wait, what song
You
is
told me
this?
on the cell phone late night when you need my love.
If you can't call me during the daytime, we don't have nothing to talk about after midnight. What are you doing? If you text me, what am I doing after midnight? I am home being a saved, sanctified saint of God. I just got out of prayer. What are you doing?
Listen, if you're getting text messages at that time of night and you asking the question, what you doing, you know, or where you at, that speaks of the lack of conversation. Listen, on my knees talking to God, you know, it speaks of a lack of conversation that has never taken place. Because if you're in the committee, if you're actually pursuing the person, then you know, when I'm interested in a woman, I'm gonna learn everything I need to learn in those first couple of conversations, so that if I'm lucky to proceed forward, I'm not messing up. If you tell me, hey, I go to bed early because I got to get up early to go to work, well, I'm not trying to keep you on the telephone past 10 o'clock at night. If you tell me that you have small children, you know, because, you know, single women don't exist without children, not all of them. You know, I had to tell someone else, if you're looking for that perfect first lady, and this is what the guy said, I'm gonna find me the perfect first lady, no kids, no this, no that. I said, well, dude, you're gonna be single a mighty long time, because there's some great women out there who got children, who's, you know, done some things, but they've made a change in their life and in their perception of things. Finding the virgin and the single with no kids and no baggage, it's a needle in a haystack. It really is. But you can mess over and miss a blessing because your head is too far in the clouds. But you ought to learn everything you can so that you can build the level of respect that needs to take place, which will exclude dumb text messages of, you know, where you're at and what you're doing. Because if you're responding to those text messages 2 o'clock in the morning, well, then you've already given him permission to disrespect you. That's it's just not, that should not be. Opening a door for a woman is not a hard task. I just think it's the utmost disrespect for that guy to say, I'm texting you saying I'm here. And dude, go to her door, open her door.
He said, and you better be ready because I'm paying for the meal. I got dressed. I moved my schedule. Like, he really behaved as if this is not what is required for what you're trying to do. A lot of folks are missing steps. When you want to have a blessing, you have to follow steps. And sometimes people want to skip steps and go straight to the gift. Even Jesus had to take steps. There's no way that we can honestly say that we want this ideal relationship or this ideal romanticism, and we're not willing to take the investment steps that are required. you have to do whatever is necessary to make sure that that outcome is going to be the most blessed and beneficial one possible. And doing things that are of, deprivating character and behavior, you're always going to be in an unpeaceable connection. We have to think about why we're in the situations we're in. Some of us have skipped steps. Some of us have ignored the signals of the direction that we should go. Some of us did not take into consideration the work. Some people want to be married, but they're not capable within their work capacity because it requires work. Some people want to be married and they haven't even read a book as it relates to relationships and how to mitigate through challenges, because in actuality, the marriage portion is just you behind closed doors. That wedding day, that honeymoon and all that, that's great. But the real work is when everybody goes home. So we're not talking about the things that are necessary for healthy relationships, let alone healthy marriages. And I know a lot of people that have gotten married or have started out in that kind of dating pattern where, oh yeah, we met, I used to come downstairs, whoop-de-woo, and then they wound up getting married, but they didn't have a very firm foundation because these are the steps that they took. So if you had this kind of communication and behavioral pattern, what do you expect to be in the outcome or the end result? You cannot skip steps when you want to have a full, complete blessing. You're going to get a dilapidated outcome and you're going to be frustrated, and there you will have no peace. Peace passes all understanding. So if you don't understand what's going on, that's already an indicator there's no peace. So if you're constantly going out with this guy or constantly going out with this young lady and there's no understanding, you're already obliging that there will be no peace, and you're already in agreement to having an unpeaceable relationship, an unpeaceable connection. This is not the will of the Lord for you. Remember, marriage is a godly institution. It belongs to the Lord, and everything that he does is just, well, loving, and it is good. So if you want to have something of the Lord, you're going to have to do it the Bible way. And so, yes, it requires work. Yes, it requires steps. Yes, it requires you to have a level of self-awareness and conscientiousness. We're not talking like this anymore because we've allowed society to reframe the way in which we should engage with our Father, our Heavenly Father. And that's backwards. So if you have a backwards connotation and notion, then you're going to have backwards relationships. And this is what the pattern has become, unfortunately. But if we continue to have these kinds of dialogues and to continue to share truth, we can kind of mitigate some of these things and really be helpful. I know right now, I don't know if we were going to be able to touch on this, but Kevin Samuels is being petitioned. There are a group of Black people who think that he is not helpful, that he is problematic, that he is against Black women. But when you listen with wanting an understanding, you can pull some information out of this, of the things that he's sharing, and kind of take it as, okay, this is what it is and this is what it's not. We already have critical race theory being removed from our discussion for our children, which also lends to, again, implications, which also lends to not being able to critically address things. So if someone is doing something that is immoral, irrational, right? Now we don't have the ability to question each other when we're doing immoral and irrational things. That young man in that video clip basically expressed, don't ask me no questions because this is what I'm doing. Don't challenge me because this is what I said. And don't think nothing of it because this is how it's going. So no one is allowed to ask this young man anything or to even help him to reshape the way in which he should be more loving, being more in a leadership role, taking more of a security capacity. Critical thinking. You know, Kevin Samuels may not be the best deliverer of information, but he's provoking thought, and he's provoking people to really critically look at how they're engaging with men and women in the areas of relationships. And I'm not going to try to take over, but these are just my thoughts as we're talking, and this is what came to mind with that video, and also with us being, you know, Bible believers. Are we subscribing to the wrong standard?
So I'm always missing out. I'm late on stuff. I watch shows after y'all done watched them already. Kevin Samuels, is this the guy that has the little podcast that comes on.
He's a very well dressed.
The glasses and he.
Yeah, with the glasses.
Yes.
Okay.
The salt and pepper beard. And he usually shares his opinions on relationships. It's usually women who call in and he critiques them and says, like, you know, you're too fat to be this picky, or you're too, you know, whatever. He critiques them on why they may currently be single. I feel like Kevin Samuels is toxic to a degree. I just feel like there are certain things he says I agree with because he just gives the hard truth. But by and large, he says some things that I think he just says it for shock value, as we know many people in the church world who do that as well. Like, one of the things he says that I thought was just asinine was, oh, women, it's masculine if a woman backs her car into a parking spot. Like, no, bruh, that's safety. What are you talking about? If you can't back into the parking spot, then just say that. But don't broad stroke it and make it, oh, women lack femininity for being able to back their car into a parking spot. Like, I'm from New York, so, and Dr. Eutsay can attest to this. You can't question our sturdiness parking parallel. Like, we can park parallel, we can park forward, we can park backwards. So don't question that. That has nothing to do with my femininity. I'm still going to step out the car in a pair of pumps. I'm still going to pay the meter and carry myself on with my date as I would. But I just think that he is toxic because some of the things he says, likewise, Tabitha Brown earlier, right? We say certain things just don't need to be shared in certain spaces because now it equates it as the norm because of the platform people have. I think some of the things he said, it now makes it the norm. You know, like, oh, well, she dropped her hand on the bottom of the steering wheel. I bet you she's cheating on you, or she can juggle multiple men at one time. She should not be taken seriously. And it's like, no, dude, it's just comfortable. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like he puts ideologies out there that makes people start thinking in a different way that has nothing to do with the reality of what situations are. I think he's used his experiences to broad stroke it as the gospel truth.
You're muted.
Unless it got something to do with Jesus and the Holy Ghost, it ain't the gospel truth. He's been petitioned by a court. Women are suing him for what? Negligent advice, counseling.
Not even
what's happening? What's happening?
Literally, what Francis was sharing is just the idea that everything that's being shared is toxic. Everything that is being shared is not beneficial. It is deprivating to Black women and things of that category. I've watched some of the segments, and I've watched where, you know, some things as far as like home training, basic things, you know, just little basic things that people who don't have certain home training will do. And no, it doesn't make you a bad person. It just means that your exposure is limited. And sometimes limited exposure creates these limited lifestyles. The Bible tells us that my people will perish because of a lack of knowledge, you know? And so not having certain experiences or exposure will limit your capacity to be able to do certain things or to engage in certain spaces. But I do know that if we have the capacity to just hear, take in what's being said, and then also pay attention, a lot of men, for women that are like, men don't know how to communicate, men don't know what they're doing, they're always spaced out, they're either polarized, either they are in tune with their emotions or they're not in tune with their emotions. This man allegedly, according to the male popular belief, is speaking for them. Men have 100% backed this man up. I've been in public environments and I'm hearing people talk about Kevin Samuels. He's become a household name. And I'm literally like in the supermarket or I'm someplace in the world and people, men, Black men are talking about, yeah, man, that's how I felt. But, you know, they always say Black men, this and that. And it's like, it's not that women don't feel a kind of way. It's just the delivery mechanism. It's a bit brass. And so that goes back to that gentleman in this video clip. His delivery was very brass. His delivery was very harsh. It was very disrespectful. It was very it was intentionally horrid. Poor baby. That's all I said to Dr. Davis. I just said poor baby, because sometimes we don't realize how we're projecting and we're implicating. This stuff matters. We're going through a lot. Black and brown people are going through a lot. COVID is not
it was
hard.
terrible.
We're going through a lot, and now that
video was trash.
Like the basic interaction between us, we can't even go out on a date. Like, you can't even cordially just be like, you know what? I want to come pick you up and we just go. We can't even do that, right? Lord have mercy. It's
You
like, what
telling me that, and here's my other thing, like, it almost renders you speechless, right? But it's like, what is the pathology that led you to this thought pattern that thinks that this is okay? You know,
mentors. I'm telling you right now, mentors.
Is it a lack of mentors? Is it a lack of
mentors?
Family? Is it because here's the other thing. I think that you might have seen the mentors, but what in your mind said that this is okay to go against the grain, or is this shock value conversation? Do you honestly believe, like, because my question as I watched the video was, when it's your daughter, what will you then say? You know, like my dad, I don't know, you know, there's a theory, right? They say men who have girls first, they were trash to women in their single days. I don't know if I believe all of that, whatever. I haven't had a daughter or anything. But one thing they often say too is that men usually change once they have daughters. Like, you know, the whole calling women bees or whatever. But one thing my dad has always taught me, whether he's been present consistently or not, was that, Leah, when you go on a date, you take Vex money with you. Vex money or mad money is in the event that this dude jumps stupid with you. You are not obligated to sit there with him. You have money to pay for your check. You have money to get yourself home. And so I take that notion with me with anybody, male or female. If I go out, if you get on my nerve, Leah can always peace out whenever I'm ready to go. Because I'm also just not a nightlife person. But I don't understand. Like, for me, I would tell my daughter, if he texts you here and there wasn't a doorbell that swiftly accompanied that text message, we're not going out. You can text him, no, thank you. I'm not going out anymore.
And this is why we have the reversal of women proposing to men, women pushing the issue. It's like, you could be strong and be soft. You can be assertive and be feminine. You don't have to take the lead on anything that you're not invited to take the lead on. The beauty about being a woman is having the ability to know that you can. That's the beauty about being a woman. You can. I know I can, but I don't have to do a march. I don't have to stomp my feet and guess what? If the Lord allows me to, I will. And if it's necessary, I can. But it doesn't mean that you have to. And you got to be able to rest in that. Some people are just so gusto and going. Be okay with settling. Settle in your emotion. Be settled. I told a young lady one time, I said, don't go before the man. And I mean, don't assert your way before he affirms his way with you. Allow him to communicate. Allow him. You may be like, this man need to do this because I already know this is going to turn out like that. And that's the beauty of being a woman, because you see all of it, right? You are in tune. Women are qualitative beings. We glean a lot from movement. Why we like chivalry. We glean a lot from language. That's why we're like, can we talk? We glean a lot from, these are qualitative measurements, right? And so as a qualitative being, you already know the ebbs and flows. But being that the man may be moving in a different way, wait for him to say, I'm throwing out the white towel. Look, can you help me? Then that's when you be like, all right, boom. This is how you get your credit up. Boom. This is how you do this. You don't just bust it. How do you feel going into somebody's life or house and just be like, oh, you need to do this? You don't even know the background. You don't even know the story. Wait. Settle. Get an understanding. The Bible says, in all of your getting, get an understanding. Get an understanding.
Get an understanding.
Just pace yourself. And when I expressed this to her, she was like, I didn't really realize that I was asserting so much and it was making him uncomfortable. And so she had to go back. And this is another thing, ladies and gentlemen, it's okay to go back and apologize. It's okay to go back and acknowledge your error. Relationships are all about being in the ship together. So, okay, my bad. I shouldn't have said that. I know we were in front of your friends. I thought it was funny, but I understand it wasn't funny to you. My bad, my fault. No harm, no foul. But the language of today is charging us to just be in charge. No, I'm a woman. I can't do everything. I will not do everything, but I can if I need to. And that's a difference. So I'm not going around letting people know all my business. This is what comes back to privacy, secrecy. That I'm telling you, relationships require more covering than social media allows us to have, or the way that it narrows itself out. Everyone doesn't have to know. Like we spoke about the last time, entertaining your man. Nobody needs to know that you got knees like Megan Thee Stallion. That's none of your business.
Woo,
That's none of
children.
But guess what? The culture today is telling us, let people see that. Let people know you're retiring your husband out. Like, why? Like,
y'all ain't gonna let that retire.
Mama used to say, Dr. Eutsay, you talk too much. No, I'm not. Mama used to say, Francis, you talk too much. You just talk too much. People are able to glean. What happened?
I said, my mama say your mouth run like sick nigga foot. I don't know what sick nigga foot is.
Oh, God in heaven. But the issue is the issue is that people talk too much. And because you talk too much, people are exposed to information that should not be. So let me do this one more time. There is a difference between private and privacy. I'm not just pronunciating the word differently. There is an active difference between what is private and what is understood to be as privacy. Private is what I do in private. It's excluded from those who know me in the public. It's private. It's behind closed doors. You don't know about it. It's private. But privacy is me allowing you to see, to know, and to experience what I do in private. I'm sharing my privacy with you. I'm sharing my private life with you, and it becomes public between you and I. And so if people will learn that there is a difference. Old preacher told me, he said, look, son, the issue with you young preachers today is that you talk too much. Y'all want everybody to know you're dating. And then when it don't work out, and he said, not only do you want everybody to know that you're dating, you got to bring every woman that you're dating to the church. You giving her wife status at the church. She's sitting on a particular pew. She's wearing, St. John knits and hats. You're recognizing her before you preach your sermon. And he said, you need to learn how to live with the understanding between the words private and privacy. He said, church folk don't need to know what you're doing. The reason why they get to gang up on you is because you expose yourself by putting everything you're doing out in public for them to see it. And so, women want men to be gentlemen. But then you're on social media posting stuff that contradicts what you're saying that you say you want. You want to be a part of the culture. You want to be included in the culture. And so you're out here posting this ignorance of a dude in 2021 with a sweat bandana on his head in a building. What you sweating of?
Lies. Sweating from lies.
And he's sitting on the couch with his feet crossed at the ankle, talking about, I'm texting you, I'm here. And you talking about, yes, girl, yes. My man is here. He's outside in his Bugatti. He's here. He came to get me. No, that is no, that
He's
is
not
not
here.
how this is done.
He's not here.
He
That's
hasn't
not even
shown
your
up.
man.
He's
That's not
absent.
even
He hasn't shown
your
up yet.
man.
He's
You know,
AWOL.
Davis, I want to go back to a point you said, because since this conversation with faith leaders and thought leaders, I think we need to take this back here. I was dating a gentleman eons ago at this point, and his uncle said something that was very prominent, and it's always stuck with me. He said it was some events, in the exuberance of young relationships. You're going with him to the churches that he preaches at, but he says, now you're going into your second year being with Leah, and you don't have a ring on her finger. She does not need to travel with you anymore, because what it says to people also is that if I can't make personal commitments in my life, and if I can't uphold personal commitments in my life, how are you going to believe this word that I'm preaching to you? And I think a lot of people, we can learn just a lot by how certain preachers move. I understand that gifts come without repentance, and
Lord Jesus,
all of that, right? But if you invite a certain preacher to your church every year, he come do y'all men's day, and every year he got the same girlfriend or a different girlfriend, we need to have a conversation on what he's sharing to our men, regardless of how much we dance, regardless of how much money he raises, regardless how big the crowd is that he draws. We need to have a conversation, because is his integrity enough for us to keep making him the anchor of what we want our men's ministry to look like? Woo.
Listen here.
Okay.
And so that's the thing. So what we do, the connect that is missing is that churches want to display a particular style of ministry. We want to show that we care and that we have concern about the totality of the human being, but then the people we put up to handle this ministry are living questionable and dubious lifestyles, and that becomes the flags, that becomes the standard bearer of your ministry. So you got this attractive, handsome man as the forefront of your men's ministry, but in what he thinks is private, because he done ran through a number of women in the church, they're having conversations amongst themselves about this nigga really ain't what he say he is.
Because there is an ideology that circulates that says single men pastor growing churches. However, when that particular single pastor gets married, then the church begins to shrink. And so we have to ask ourselves, what is that reason? It can't just be because all of the women were attracted to him and thought that they had an opportunity, without someone giving them the idea or the inclination that they at one point might have had the opportunity to be the next missus. And so when you bring in Lisa, who ain't never been here, we ain't never seen her, and you say, this is who the Lord told me is my wife, she gonna be with me, she gonna ride with me, she prays with me, she covers me, but I've been sleeping with you under your covers for the last couple of weeks, I have questions. And now I want to leave. I don't feel called to this ministry, because as long as I'm under the gaze of whatever the soul tie is that we got going on, I believe that the Lord sent me here. But the minute you say that Lisa is your first lady and not me, I'm ready to go. And at that point, we need to question, we need to question a lot of things. And that, so I'm like, we got growing churches here, but are we growing it off of the word and the ministry that's happening at these churches? Or are we growing it off of personality and personal gain, whatever that is?
Well, it's a matter of growing old and not growing up. There's a difference. So people are growing old, but they're not growing up. And so their behavior is indicative to where they are mentally and internally. Remember that buzzword, high value. So what we're seeing is a combination of what we're seeing folks valuing. They prefer what they prefer over what is the necessary work that God has really called them to, or called us all to. Remember, you want Bible results, you got to do it the Bible way. So that requires a level of work necessity. You cannot have a sweetheart and a wife. Some people do that, but that's not the healthiest way to live. I mean, there's so many fragments in the pews as far as we seeing things and discussing things, but it's because we're not dealing with things. And cancel culture is canceling the wrong things. We see cancel culture putting their efforts into things that are frivolous and stupid, but these kinds of behaviors need to be canceled, right? This kind of dichotomous behavior needs to be canceled. These types of things need to be addressed. This is how we create strong infrastructure within our communities. This is how we be responsible gatekeepers. You'll know when someone is ready to be, first lady, whatever it is by the way that they value themselves and others. It just shows, and it's not something that's so hard. It's a matter of, are you subscribing to the Bible, or are you subscribing to social media? Is that your God? Is that what it is that you are looking to be like? Because that's what you're liking, that's what you're following after, that's how you're looking, that's how you're sounding, and that's the answer for that. So we still support these kinds of things. I don't know why, Francis. I question myself sometimes too. Why are we supporting these kinds of things? What is it about it that's so attractive to us? Why are we not satisfied with doing things the way that we know we ought to do? I think it's a level of laziness. Some people don't want to do the work. I think it's a level of not being humble enough to say, I don't know how, but I need to be taught and I need to be trained. And my best friend said to me one time, she said, some of it is these mentors who they admire, who people admire. You could be admiring the wrong person. They have a great facade, they have a great presentation, but in actuality, that may not be the mentor that you should have. Really doing some basic soul searching. Like, what is it that you want? And start aligning yourself with those kinds of things. That's just how I'm looking at it. That's just me. Y'all know. That's my take on that.
Listen, you are talking good, and it dropped in my spirit. Satisfied with Jesus, he's all right. Okay, that's enough. So, if we are committed to truth, there is one way that truth looks like. It's not a myriad of the truth. It is not a variation of the truth. There's just one truth.
One way to God. I got real apostolic. Is it 238? Is it 238?
Listen here, girl. Acts 2:38 will get your life together. I would testify, but that's not what we're doing today. So, ladies, I want to say thank you for always taking time. What did you say?
I said, y'all know I saw my good bishop this week. I had to explain Tipsy to Bishop Page this week, y'all. Bishop Page Sr.
You told him.
Did Bishop buy him some vanilla? Did he buy him some vanilla?
I told Bishop, I said, Bishop, this is, and I said, because he said, what you been doing? I said, well, I got a business, an ice cream business. And he said, oh, ice cream. I said, well, Bishop, I don't think this is ice cream that you particularly can partake in.
Particularly.
Yeah, particularly. I had to go Brandon Davis on him. I said, I don't think you can partake in this. It contains things in which you preach against. And he said, and the people are buying it from you? He was so amazed. I honestly was honored that I didn't get rebuked. He was just so amazed that you all lovely people choose to indulge.
Oh, Bishop.
Listen. I don't know why I have it in my head. Old preachers, they on Sunday evening eat ice cream and it's vanilla with a teaspoon, and it just, I don't know why I got that in my head. I don't know.
Because that's
but listen, ladies, right at the diner, around the corner, they get them. Yeah, let me get a scoop of vanilla ice cream. Just vanilla. But ladies, I want to say thank you for always taking time out of your schedule. This is a regular happening broadcast, conversation in the pews. We'll update our branding later. As Dr. Eutsay and the business media mogul Leonitha Francis schedule allows, we will bring these conversations to you. I want to get one word from each of you as a signing off before we end the day. Francis?
Why did I know it was gonna be first? I don't have anything aside from listen. Don't just consume content, create content.
I love it. I love it. Dr. Eutsay.
Just be yourself, and that's how you'll be able to achieve all the great blessings that are bestowed before you.
Amen. Listen, this has been Conversation with Faith Leaders, presenting Conversation in the Pews. We will have these conversations periodically. We will bring them to you in advance with advance notice. I would like to invite you to tune in Sunday, July 25th. Yes, at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we continue the series Conversations with a Church Mother. I have with me on Sunday, Her Grace, the Right Reverend Bishop Carolyn Tyler Guidry, the 122nd elected and consecrated bishop of the AME Church and the second woman in succession of the African Methodist Episcopal Church Episcopacy. I'm delighted to have her with me. She is going to be 100% herself, bold, honest, and truthful. She's going to provide some intel and information about ministry experiences, and she's going to give her advice about where she thinks the church should be and what ministry should be looking like in a global pandemic setting. So tune in Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, stay safe, be blessed, and I'll catch you later.